Yeah, you never know.
Which one is the word? No? I haven't. Okay, good, you keep on. But I don't. Well, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's not. No matter what, it's all. And so we. Well, he's trying to get, so I'm like, okay, well, I try to put it on the expense.
Whether we have 1, 3, 5.
Okay, what payment works? But now, let's say, well, I think it's special.
Well, you said pay through.
Oh, yeah.
He has sent me an email. Just waiting on a mic.
I think so.
Like, don't send text.
Trying to figure out whether this is sharing anymore.
I don't know. I know. So that's all we're doing.
So it's like,
When I do, but he can't do it.
so, 2 weeks straight. And then, and then another week. Sorry.
Hello, hello.
There you go.
It was working, it's not working now.
Oh, no, hold your mouth though.
It was working.
Yeah.
Before, yeah.
So it's the laptop that you.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to go?
Is it time? Hello.
You want to unmute, or what do you want to do? What do you want to ask me?
Everything okay.
Anybody on Zoom, can you hear us? Can someone respond, please?
It's Margie, I can hear you.
Great, thanks, Margie. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody on the phone as well, but you can unmute yourself to ask. Okay, good morning. Thanks for everybody for showing this morning, dealing with the traffic. I know after Labor Day, I know myself, I was stuck in traffic for a little bit longer than it was previous to Labor Day. So thanks very much for coming and making a showing here as well at Oracle NetSuite here. So this is officially, I guess, unofficially, we met about 3 months ago, and I see a lot of familiar faces as well, for a kickoff for our Ontario NetSuite user group. And this is our official first meeting, which is great. We formed the group, formed the board. We're working on getting the legalities of it set up, and the website, and also the NetSuite logins and stuff as well. So that's all coming soon. And thanks to Gavin here, who has put together a great agenda for us with a couple of great topics. But first, my name's Mark Tanner, so I'm the co-chair for the user group. And we'll go through our agenda quickly here. So Gavin's going to walk us through some safe searches. He's got some great samples. We're going to have this as an interactive session as well. So if we want, we can maybe jump into Zoom and show us your own environments. I don't know what Gavin has for interaction, but I know he has a great wealth of knowledge on a lot of areas within NetSuite. So today we're going to focus on the safe searches, then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and tackle dashboards and best practices. And unfortunately, Chris, he had a personal commitment that he would not be able to attend this morning, but Gavin has put his hand up and grabbed some slides from SuiteWorld and is going to walk us through the dashboards as well, which is great. And then I want, at the end, a chance for everybody in the room. This is a great networking session. So that's really what our group is all about, is networking and developing relationships, developing best practices, and sharing some experiences as well. And we'll get into that in a couple of minutes. So just to introduce you to the team, some are here, some are not. So my co-chair, Ryan, unfortunately, or fortunately for him, his wife gave birth to their second child yesterday morning. So he called me frantically asking me if I could take over the meeting and on his behalf as well. So Ryan is doing duties right now, and he said he made it clear that he wasn't even going to ask his wife if he could attend today. It was just no. Not a good excuse. Huh? So we have Lisa here as well, treasurer. Chris, are you in the room? No, I think he may be on the phone as well. So he's our recording secretary. We've got our membership chair, Debbie, and Ann, not here, but Debbie may be on the Zoom as well. We've got a speaker chair, Anthony's here, and we have a webmaster / technical advisor, Ben. So Ben, welcome. Okay. And we've got you as that role, but we're also looking to help within that role as well for webmaster and technical advisor. So if anyone is willing to donate some of their time, we meet on a fairly irregular basis right now, but it will become regular. So it's not a huge commitment, but it's good to have a group that we can delegate certain tasks and certain items to. So what is our goal as a group? Networking opportunities is probably our number one. So this gets us all in the same room, all in the same conversation about NetSuite. We can talk about education and our knowledge and our experiences. So I know just from attending SuiteWorld and then attending our last session, so Steve, we've had great conversations. You've lent me some of your experiences on how to onboard, how to get live, and some of the help that you asked for. So, myself and our company, we've joined forces with that same company, and otherwise, we may not have found a good experience with just going and selecting a partner for consulting services. So it's always great to know, hey, has there been some good experiences out there? What are they? Who should we, partner with as well? So that's just me on a personal level with our company, Danby Appliances, but there's a wealth of knowledge here in the room and on the phone, and what we hope is that this group, as we expand and grow, we continue to share this knowledge. A lot of it is dependent on Gavin and the NetSuite team right now to get us started, get those introductions, get those, good training and informative sessions as we move forward. Maybe it won't all be Gavin, it'll be somebody else as well. Somebody in the room. So. Gavin would like to just sit back and just buy us drinks at an event. So. Yeah. A friendly learning environment. So, we're all in the same situation. We're all on NetSuite. We're all in different situations. And again, it's being open and honest to what our experiences are, good and bad, so that we can all grow and all learn within. As a team, we want to listen to your needs. So we've had a couple of surveys already. We're getting that feedback, and we're tailoring, what our future meetings will be around that, around your voice as well. So, and I think we're a voice for change, and that's, one of the important parts is we all collectively are asking for similar things, and what we're hoping is NetSuite comes back and says, we're listening to the Ontario user group. Can we implement this? Can we help them with this? What resources can we do? Do we have to run a session strictly for our group? I hope that we're going to be a voice within NetSuite as well. So we're planning on meetings every 2 months, and I have a little asterisk there, at least for the first year, maybe every 2 months for a startup is great timing, but maybe in year 2, it should be maybe every 3 months. And maybe we do off-site events instead of on-site here, and do a little bit more over WebEx or Zoom. And no membership costs. So we have decided, at least for the first year, we're going to handle these costs internally as a group, and then move forward. So whether we ask other partners for sponsorship to help pay for some of these events, Gavin has been very generous in donating this room, his time, his breakfast here as well. So NetSuite's really behind the startup of the user group. And I think it's important after the first year of NetSuite's help that we become a little bit more self-sufficient, and then we'll decide, is that a membership cost, or do we go out and get sponsors? So I know that the leadership group is looking more for the sponsor route, but we don't want to quite do that just today. We'll do that in a year. So I've got a few, so this is our future topic survey. So if you attended Gavin's first session a few months ago, you filled out a survey, and what we did was weighted the feedback from that, and I've listed it here. So number 1, number 2, we're tackling them today. Right off the bat, we're heading these head on. So safe searches, dashboard, design and optimization. You can see how the list goes and how they rank. And I also put the values there for the weighted values, so you can see, what's in the top like 500 and up. Those are some pretty good topics that we will have over the next, year or so. So every 2 months, we're going to try and pick a couple of these topics and discuss and really venture into them. So in some, like say number 12, birds of a feather. So that's round table. That's geared towards networking on a certain topic. So pick a table, talk about a certain topic. So not necessarily a training aspect, but a discussion, which could be just as important as a training as well. So we hope to have some of these topics moving forward and coming soon. So our website is ONSUG.org. It is live. We bought the domain. We own it. There's no website just yet. It's coming soon. Okay. So I think, even after today's session, we've got a great video and everything to walk us through. That's good content to put up. We're going to have a lot of tips and tricks out of our safe searches today, and a lot of conversations, and probably some follow-ups. It may be good to have that on our website for all of us to go and review. We are going to be registering for a NetSuite sandbox or a NetSuite account as a user group, so that is also in the works. And then probably mid-November would be our next meeting, and then we'll come up with that agenda as well, based on everybody's feedback. Secret Santa, if you would like, Gavin, sure. Okay, so with that, I want to jump into to Gavin's presentation and hand it over to him. So thanks very much, everyone, for.
Okay. So this is going to be partly presentation, but mostly in a demo account, building searches and stuff. So I have a few different things that I wanted to go through, but there's no one person knows everything about safe searches. So if anyone has, as we go through this, if there's specific searches that you've been struggling with, or things that you're struggling with, then this would be a good time to go through some of those examples as well and see if we can figure them out. I have a couple of things, hopefully, that I'm going to show you that you maybe didn't know that you could do. If not, that's fine too. So I'm currently as you can see, Director of Product Marketing at NetSuite. But I actually joined NetSuite as a sales engineer doing demos. Those guys are from MedTech to make wristbands, and I actually did their demo and many others over the years. So I actually do know how some of this stuff works. And I guess if you're on the phone, then I guess you can just unmute yourself if you have a question to ask, and don't be shy because questions will make it much more fun. The dashboarding part, we'll see how far we get with that. Chris called me yesterday and he had a death in the family, so that's why he's not here. He actually wanted to come, and I was like, no, it's fine. I think we can handle that without you. So we'll either just continue with some saved search stuff, or we'll talk about dashboards. I have in my demo account, I have like 10 different roles that all have some of the dashboards pre-configured for them. So I can show you what some of our demo account dashboards look like, because those tend to be a little bit hyped up. So we'll figure that out too. Okay, so we're not going to do that part. So I'm going to go through some basic rules and why you do things different ways. Then I'm actually going to go in and start and build a saved search, and then add like some highlighting and stuff to it, and add a case statement to go and add a column so you can do some cool things. We're going to talk about sublists, what a sublist is, how you can add your own sublists. They're super powerful. And then I'm going to show you how you can actually publish a saved search onto your website, or the employee portal, or the vendor portal. I'm going to show you the vendor portal today, but you can actually take the content of a saved search and you can publish it outside of NetSuite, which has some interesting connotations as well. And then I also have an example of, was anyone affected by the outage in Boston last month? No? So we had like an issue in the Boston data center, and some customers were down for like 6 hours or wherever it was. And I came up with an idea that might help in situations like that. So I can show you some of that stuff too. So okay. So this is actually we did a session at SuiteWorld called "So You're Live on NetSuite Now What?" And I had some customers help out in this session, and I did some pieces with like a panel of presenters, and I really liked the next 2 slides because these came from a good friend of mine, David Jarrell, who works for Corsical. They make drink cups and insulated cups and that sort of thing. And David is, I think he's now on his 3rd NetSuite company, or 3rd company that's deployed NetSuite. And so he came up with some tips and tricks. So I want to just kind of go through some of these, and some of these are saved search related, but they're not all. These are great tips in general. So I'm going to show you some of these. NetSuite runs NetSuite, not surprisingly, and so all my saved searches I prefix with GD space dash space, and then whatever the name is, which makes it really easy to find. And so you can come up with a naming convention for saved searches, which makes them easier to find. You can find them in the global search, of course. So some other things when you're using field names, if you go to the there's a scripting course that NetSuite runs. Even if you're not good at scripting, or you're not interested in actually coding, the scripting course actually teaches you some really good fundamentals about when you're doing naming conventions and that sort of thing. You don't actually have to know JavaScript to go through the scripting course. It has, every example has in the back of the book, it has the actual code, so you can just cut it out, you can paste it in, see how it works, and then tweak some things. and so it's actually really useful to do. It's like a 4 or 5 day course. If you're adding custom fields, always populate the help or for what it is. So when you click on the field in NetSuite and it comes up with what that field does, don't just blame NetSuite for not having shitty descriptions of what the field does, and then not have your own descriptions for your own fields that you add. So that's a good tip to have as well. Specifically on saved searches, so the show in menu option, do not check that box. When you create a saved search, I'm going to go through this shortly. It's very tempting to just click all the boxes, including show in menu and make public and that sort of thing. But yeah, you end up with just an unmanageable menu of searches. The public one, don't make it public unless you think someone else is actually going to use it. If you don't make it public, then when people search from saved searches, then they won't find your search. You're the only person that will find it. So those are good tips as well. The application performance management bundle. I don't think I have this. I don't have that in this account. I would highly recommend that you get that. If you call support and ask for it, it's basically a bundle that gets installed, and it will monitor any scripts that you have in the system. It will also monitor saved search performance, and it will tell you which saved searches are taking the longest to run, and it will actually help you pinpoint why they're taking longest to run. And it also will show you if there's times in the day where performance is affected more times than others, it could be based on your business or wherever as well. So highly recommend that you use that as well. So I'll share this deck afterwards. You get David's full list. I'd love to actually persuade him to come up here and talk to you guys one time, because he's super interesting, and he's done this so many times. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but again, I'll share these, and you can have a look at them afterwards. Has anyone gone through the 18.2 upgrade yet? Is it this week? Yeah. I would highly recommend that you do more testing than normal for this release. There's various reasons for that, but I would make sure you do more testing than you would normally do. That's all I'll say on that matter. Okay, so naming conventions. So it's basically easy to find your own searches. All my searches start with GD space dash. Then you can find your saved searches in the global search if you want to. When you put in the description of your search, I always go from broad to more specific. So GD space dash sales orders by country, or sales orders or customer count by vertical, or wherever. When you're in the saved search, you don't find the words within the enemy, but it just makes it easier to narrow down what the search that you have. Another good way. So Lisa brought this up the other day. So, and again, I'm going to show you what happens with both versions of this. Remember when you start a saved search in NetSuite, and it shows you the list of tables. It's not actually tables, they're views of the data that NetSuite chooses to expose. The only way you'll actually see the table structure is if you use the ODBC link. It will actually show you the tables and the views. But within NetSuite, you only see the views, which is why there's one view for transactions, which is all transactions. That transaction table or view contains both the header and the lot and the line level details, and the only way to filter it out to do one or other or both is by using the main line switch. So main line equals yes means I only want to see the header record of the sales order, which is the summary, not the line detail. If you say main line equals no, then it's just the lines that you're going to get. If you don't specify it, you're going to get both. Which can actually be useful at times. I have an example of that as well. Sometimes you might have to go and do some other work to make sure that you're not double counting, because it will show, for example, it would show an amount. If you use the amount field, it's going to show you an overall amount for the sales order, and then it's going to show you an amount for each line as well. So the main line is a key switch to make sure that you take advantage of. So I'm just going to show you some of the things that I'm going to show you, then I'm going to show you how it actually works. Highlighting is much underused in saved searches. Guaranteed 9 times out of 10, if I show someone my demo account and I have a search that has highlighting in it, they're like, oh, how did you do that? So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. You can highlight the background. You can put, as you can see, like check marks or exclamation marks without the highlighting. Super useful for things like I have like an expedite list in my purchasing dashboard that shows all the open POs, and the ones that should have been received already are highlighted in red. The ones that are should be received shortly or within the next couple of days might be highlighted in a different color, etc. Really easy to do, but again, super useful way to go and view your information as well. Okay. The best way, though, to go and find out what your searches are is to actually go and have a search called My Saved Searches. There we go. So if you have a search called My Saved Searches, then it's going to show you all the searches that you created. Super useful thing to go and find all your own searches. And then you can actually go and so this is showing you the type of search it is. You probably want to actually put a filter here as well, so that you can filter by search type. And then it also shows you the person that was last run by and the last run date. In demo accounts, this never works because the dates are all screwed up because they're in the future. But in reality, it works great because you can see the last search that you ran. Yes.
For best practices, do you always have the search in your name? Because we run into it, if someone goes on mat leave or they leave and it's scheduled or it's required for workflow scripts, it may break down.
Sorry, can you say that again?
So,
actually, hold on. Let me do this. And then people online can hear too.
okay, if it's off topic, we can take this offline. So we found that for certain searches, and maybe you'll cover this later, you may not want to have it as you owning it, because if it's scheduled, if it's used in a script or workflow, it could break down if someone goes on mat leave and they lose their access, or if they win the lottery or change companies or something.
So you can still be the owner, but it can be public. So if you make it public, then anyone can use it, and then they can copy it and they can make changes to it.
So scheduling will still run?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and so the other cool thing, actually, my home dashboard, then actually what I do is I actually have I actually go and add my saved search list, custom search should be good. Put it down here. And I go and put my saved search in the on my home dashboard. And the benefit of that is you can then go and you can specify how many you want to see there, and how you want to drill down within it. So I have that there, and then you can just go and click on it on the header to go and minimize it if you don't want to see it right now. But that's probably the saved search that I use the most, is the saved search to find my own searches. So, okay. Okay, so let's go and go through a saved search, and then I'm going to start with a fairly basic one, and then we'll add highlighting to it, and then we'll add formulas to it, and then we'll figure out some other stuff to do as well. Does anyone have a preference as to what sort of search we do? No?
Open sales orders.
Open sales orders. Okay. So, I just saw, by the way, like a demo of I think I showed you guys last time the new reporting engine. I just saw the version that's coming out. That's going to be in 18.2 that has charts and stuff in it, which is kind of cool. And they've actually moved it to, it's not under reports anymore. They've added a analytics tab to the top. So that's where that's going to show up. Okay, so notice, of course, that these are all a combination of all of the records in the system. So a combination of ones that NetSuite provide, plus also any custom records. You can see that there's custom records here too, so you can. So if you want to do sales orders, this is actually a good one because then we can talk about mainline. So we'll do it based on transactions. So transactions is every transaction available in the system. I always just do create save search. I'm not sure, because if you don't do it, then it's just like a one-time search. So this is where I would go and then start with my GD. You can see I already have an open sales orders. So I'm going to break some rules and say to call this open sales orders too. I always do upper and lowercase just because it looks nicer. You're meant to give it an ID as starting with the underscore. And then I just do open sales orders too. So this is then where some of your other options. So again, public makes it available to everyone in the company, basically, as long as they have access to the as long as they have permission for the records that you're running the search based on. Available as a list view makes it available as a drop-down list amongst the other things as well. Is it available to be published onto the dashboard? We're going to do sublists later, so I'm going to leave that for now. Do you want it available as a reminder? You've got to be careful with that because it's going to show you the total amount. There's no point in having, I guess you could do all open sales orders and have a reminder that you have 540 open sales orders or whatever. Reminders tend to be more useful if it's a smaller amount. So late sales orders, not open sales orders, that sort of thing. And then here's of course, the show in menu option that we talked about before. So let's just go and, so the first thing you want to do on a transaction search is tell what type of transaction, because this has all the transactions. So as you can see, so everything from an assembly build to transfers, to cash sales, deposits, blah, blah, blah. And you can do multiple. I'm just going to do sales order in this case. I always remove all of the results. I'm not going to add any more criteria at this point. We'll come back to that later. The little star field, because I didn't specify main line in this case at this point, it's going to show me all open sales orders, both headers and line detail, and the little asterisk is going to show you which results are the header or the main line or the header record. So I'm going to go and.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
So the transactions in NetSuite are, or when you do a search of the transaction view, there'll be, if there's a sales order with 4 lines, there's 5 entries. There's one entry for the header and 4 entries for the line, all in the same view.
Yeah, I understand that, but what does the asterisk do?
It shows you which record is the header record. Right. So we're going to do that first, which is why they have it first in the list there. The sales order number is actually a transaction number. The name is the customer name or the vendor name or whatever the associated, whatever that is based for that type of transaction. You want date. You want line ID.
Sorry, are you under the column section? Like, we don't see transaction number, we don't see that as an option for us. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's typically document number.
Document number? Yeah.
Default document number.
With document ID.
Oh, document, okay, that I have.
Wonder why it's different. That's weird. It could be. You can actually rename.
There's 2 for audit. It's for auditing purposes. I think 1 is sequential.
Could be.
One is duplicate. So I think it's either the transaction number or the document number. 1 is guaranteed transaction number. I think it's for auditing. So if your auditor keeps.
So you go, so document number and transaction.
So I think gap. And those, they can rate that can rate spread high.
So you can also rename transactions. So that's the other thing you got to be aware of. Like there's a screen in NetSuite where you can go and rename transactions to different things. Projects, for example, the default description of a project transaction in NetSuite is job. And so, but if you go and rename job to project, then it shows as project everywhere, including in the saved searches. So if you're not finding something, or if something is not looking the same in my demo account as what you have in your account, it could be because your transaction has been renamed. And also remember, our demo accounts have every possible feature turned on usually, so sometimes there's more stuff in there too.
But transaction number doesn't appear on printed paperwork.
Correct. Your document number does, but I guess like my point would be that like we have instances where the document number is guaranteed to be unique and no collision,
Correct.
but the transaction number can't have collision. So if I'm searching for a purchase order in the global search, I could type in, PO 2430. I might see 2 results. And that's because one actually has a document number of 2430 and another one has a transaction number of 2430. But the actual official document number you see on the printout
Right.
is the document ID.
I've never used transaction number.
Yeah, no.
So I'm going to show you how I got the transaction number as well. I'll show you after we do the first version of this, which is another good tip actually. So line ID should tell you the line number, the item, the quantity that you're selling. There's always multiple. So this is the quantity that's been requested. This is what you've sold so far. So you can add those, but then you probably want to then go and add a formula, a numeric formula, where you can go and you can say to get your balance, which is going to be quantity, minus quantity fulfilled, and then give that a name of balance. So in this case, I'm not going to start by doing any sums. There's a summary type. There's the formula, and then your label. And so then I'm going to do it by transaction number, or it could be document number. and then by the line. So it should give us, in ascending sequence, so it should give us the results in the right order. So, oh, and then we want amount, of course. Amount is always a tricky one because, again, there's amount in the foreign currency, there's the net amount. So sometimes you've got to play with the different options of the field to make sure that you get the right one. But I'm doing a new save search, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for. I'll add all the quantity fields and all the amount fields and then figure out which one's going to work for the circumstance. Yes?
The amount net of tax, would that show you the sales order without the tax in it?
Correct.
Okay.
And also I think without there's one that shows you the discounted amount as well. So I'm not sure if the net could also be meant without the discount.
Okay.
Yes?
For that consolidated exchange rate drop down, that's a little bit higher up on the right side. If you were to change that to a average, would that show you the amount of each transaction converted using the average consolidated exchange rate?
Using the summary type?
No, that drop. So up on the right, the drop down right there, which is per account, which
Oh.
is consolidated exchange rate. If we adjust that to average, would it output the amount for each transaction using the average consolidated exchange rate?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
You don't really want to muck around with that because it.
There you go. See, the help actually is helpful at times. Average is the average rate for the period in which the transaction occurred, as opposed to the specific rate.
Okay, yeah, because we have problems reconciling our transactional level GL to our consolidated subsidiary reporting. Because it was moving through multiple currencies.
Right.
And our reports are coming out at transactional level in their respective currency from each subsidiary.
At the local sub.
Exactly, yeah. So now with this, it'll consolidate to using average rate.
So, okay, so let's see what we have right now. Then we'll come back and we'll add some. I hate these warnings. So, yeah, so there you have for sales order 6577. This is the header, and then there's two lines on it, line 1 and line 3. I think that's another field. We'll talk about that in a second. And then these are actual, so it's the header, and then these are the actual lines. Along with the date it was entered and your balance and your amount. Hopefully the balance is correct. Looks like it is too. Cool. So let's go back and.
I'm getting an error saying, please enter value for description. Do you know what that means?
It probably has say okay,
so that-
hit cancel.
Okay,
No, hit cancel on the line.
that's on the line.
Right, and then try again.
Oh,
See, what's happened is your mouse
Mouse
is
is
making
down on the
implying
line.
that there's another line and there is.
okay. Still says it.
One thing to mention is, one thing to mention about mainline being important, posting is also important. Do I want non-posting data or do I just want to look at GL data? Because you can get driven to insanity trying to work out why do I have information that I don't want. I've been there, done that. So there's a mainline and posting. Well, and then the other concept is, do I want the tax line and do I want the shipping line? There is so much more on the criteria to strip out what you really want. I rarely run a report with header and line detail because it's useless to me. I've got double dipping. I either want to know about the detail or I want to know about the header information. And what I find is sometimes the header information doesn't have enough. So I'm forced to go to the detail, but I don't want that, which is where you'll get into the next phase.
What did I have wrong here?
So the problem was that you had go hit edit again, your criteria was, you have to say type of sales order
Oh,
and not sales order, which I think is just like a flag as to whether it's a sales order, but I always use type because then you can do multiple transactions if you want in the same search.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start to narrow this down a little bit. So now we're going to do mainline. We're going to make this a summary report. I'll tell you a funny story actually. So the owner, as you can see, is Kathy Cadigan. When I started at NetSuite, Kathy controlled all the demo accounts. So her name is like throughout all the demo accounts. She left and she now works for Sage. And so, but for some reason her name is still like the owner of all different demo accounts. Sometimes we'll be in like in a competitive situation and her name will come up and people will say, why is Kathy's name in your demo accounts? Funny story. Okay. So mainline, and mainline is just yes or no. So mainline yes means we only want to look at the sales order headers.
So just mainline and not mainline name?
No, just mainline. I'll even show what mainline name is actually.
This is what I find confusing in the search is that you don't know how to reference a certain aspect that you're trying to report on. So
I'm going to show
get a
you.
description and you get 50 different options coming up with the word description. And how do you know that that's the description on the form that you're trying to pull the information?
Right.
I find that very difficult.
So that's been so that was actually our own fault, to be honest. So every field has like a field name in the database. It could have a suite script name. It could have a web services name. It could have, so one field should have this one name. As NetSuite grew, we weren't always diligent with making sure that we did that. So there's a large effort ongoing right now called USR. Actually, before USR is the new search and reporting engine. But before that, we actually had to go back through and recode all the fields to make sure that they all had consistent names. So right now, if you go in and do it, especially in reporting, you'll notice that there's like 5 different item fields or 5 different description fields. That will go away when we're done. Yes?
Yeah, like today, because right now when you name a field, that title shows up in your saved search is the one you want to pull in generally most of the time.
Right.
And you can rename them on forums and they can be different each forum.
Right.
So it's a bit harder when you go into the line level, but for some of the fields what we do is there's an option in your preferences to show IDs.
I was going to show that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Use that to identify exactly which field we really want. So on the form you can click the help description where we have a help description.
Yep.
And it'll show the ID there, and then using
Oh, and
formula,
then you can go
you
search
can
for the,
specifically call that
oh.
specific field, and you understand which one you're looking for.
Okay,
But when you're looking into like sublets, though, it can get a little bit more difficult.
Right.
okay.
So here's now your list of sales orders. And I'm just going to open that in a tab. And so within the, come on. Here we go. So for example, number 1, go away. I don't even know how they're getting me in this. So click on order number, and it shows you. Then it shows you the description of what the help is, but then there is the name of the field. That's how I got to the transaction number, because it was telling me that tran ID is the name of the field.
The tran ID would be the name of the field that you're pointing to there.
Right.
Okay.
But
Customer.
it's not the name of the field in the search, that's the problem.
That's the thing, like, how do you find that? in the
That's
search?
the script identity, and so, like, another thing you can, there's a suite script record browser
Right.
that actually shows you the mapping. So it'll show you the field name, and then if there's a difference, like in this case, there's a we would reference that field, and then how, like, someone who's actually trying to pull data out might reference the field. But again, they're trying to clean it up, like, they're moving towards fixing that, but that's the issue right now.
So that's under, you mean under help, you just go,
If you just put it like the suite script record browser, it'll show you, it gives you every record type in the system, and then it'll show you the name of each field.
Right.
Whether it's in a search or in script.
That doesn't show your custom builder, right?
No.
That doesn't show you a custom, but all the.
All the built-in NetSuite.
So, yeah, so this is the record browser that you get to through help. And if you say go to help in the records browser, it shows here, go to the Suite Script record browser, and you can have a shortcut to this too. And so then you got to find the different type of record you want. Let's say sales order. Yeah. And then there's the internal ID, the type of field, the label on the form. Is it required or not? And then this is the same help that you got.
so the label is the safe search field.
No, it'll,
not always.
You can scroll down, there should be like a column, scroll down the page.
Where's the Bible?
There you go. So when you get into like, if you keep going down, I think there's like a filter and maybe not on this record.
Tabs, transaction. Let's put it under the transaction because they're all transactions, right? So then there's your joins, filters, and then there's your columns.
Right, so that's,
Yeah,
so in theory, if I click on and get that internal ID, I can come here and see what it's in theory in the search under label.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's actually two things on that, but should point out that for people to be able to see the field ID in that help,
Right.
they actually have to set that in their preference.
Dashboard.
Yeah.
You have to set it in your preferences.
Yeah. So if you go to set preferences,
Okay.
I can open this new tab. See.
There is no global preference for this
Right.
one, so
So you have to set
set
it.
it in your preference.
Okay.
So under defaults, there's show internal IDs. There's actually a bunch of useful settings in here that you can use as well.
Another little tip, sometimes you can't find in the drop-down list, or if you're trying to do that, back and forth with what does it say in the help versus what does it say in the drop-down list. You can also go get around that by putting in a text formula. Put in that help, the ID field that's in the help, in curly brackets. Text formula.
Cool.
That might be a little bit more.
We always want to know more. Okay, so there's our list of sales order headers. Again, let's go and add another piece to this. My personal favorite, highlighting. So we'll make this easy. I'm going to say amount. Oops. If you don't do it fast enough, it loses it. There we go. Okay. Amount greater than $10,000. And so you can have multiple criteria as well. And then you can change the, you can have an image that goes with it, maybe a dollar sign, that'd be good. And change the background to be yellow. And then say, give it a label, big order.
The label is the description?
Right. So what that does is when you run it, so now it highlights all the ones over $10,000. And then, but at the bottom of the list, it shows a legend of what it means, which is kind of cool. So when you do that, so if you put that like on your dashboard and limit it to like 10 records, it will show you the 10 records, and it will show you the legend of what the color highlighting means.
Have to use the label to get the legend.
Yes, if you enter a label, the legend doesn't show up.
So you can't just have it dollar financial.
You can put, I guess you probably put a space or something. That usually works as a
I
cheat.
use a lot of highlighting, but then I forget what it is. What if I highlight it
Right.
without putting all these labels up the side?
Yeah. Okay. So there's another way to do that is to use a case statement to go and add a column that tells you which orders are big orders. So this is where, again, this came from Lisa. No, I can't change the fact that it's a case statement, but it's basically the same as in Excel or anywhere else where you do like a if then else. So there's great resources in the web, by the way. If you just go and search on the web for like NetSuite case statements, you'll get like a plethora of examples of some pretty complex case statements. That I'm doing a pretty simple one because I'm a pretty simple person. But you can then go and you can go and play around with it. It's fairly simple. There's some tricks I'll show you that I use to make sure that I have the right number of brackets and statements and that sort of thing. But basically, anything you do in Excel, any formula you do in Excel, you should be able to replicate it in a NetSuite same search as well. So case is basically a if, then, else. So in this Excel formula, you're saying if field J2 is greater than 5,000, it's a large order. Otherwise, it's called a smaller order. In NetSuite, what that looks like is case when field number greater than 5,000, then large order, else smaller order, end. Pretty simple. Let's go and do that. And then I'll show you. So we're going to go into again formula. It's text formula. The only thing you have to sometimes you have to be a little bit careful is that the output of your formula matches your formula type that you're using. And I have like when I was an SE and doing this all the time, I kept in Notepad all my case statements, and then I would just paste them into the formula box, and then you can keep some pretty complex ones and change the field names. But Notepad works really well for the formatting.
Are you interested in sharing that notepad?
I am actually, sure.
That would be awesome, because I get very, like, I want to do VLOOKUP and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have a decent sized library of pretty complex ones that I can share. Sure. They're not all mine because we would all share them.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome.
I don't actually like doing this. If you go and say case here, then it goes and enters what to me is a pretty complex description of what it's looking for, and I always get confused when I try and follow this. So I just do it the old-fashioned way.
How'd you get the set box to come up?
Get the what, sorry?
How'd you get the set box to come up?
Oh,
Yeah.
in the formula column, there's a little,
Formula set? Yeah, but you've got to go into formula. Okay. that's
right,
here.
and then click on the thing,
Click
the
on
button to the
little
right.
box here, here.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, case span. Now what is useful is using the field finder, because then it just goes and enters the right field ID for you. amount is greater than 10,000, then big order. This is holding the microphone and like typing with one hand is much trickier than having a lapel mic.
And it's always single quotes for text?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically JavaScript. So I mean, if you really want to get fancy, if you find a JavaScript course or JavaScript instructions online, then it should work. That's basically that's what it is. Else, small order. Oops. And so what I tend to do is this. Now it doesn't keep it.
Yeah, why doesn't it keep it?
But if you get a formula that doesn't work, I find that when I break it down in that way, then it makes it easier to figure out what's going on. Unfortunately, it doesn't keep it. But again, it will keep it in Notepad. So that's why I kept it in Notepad. So I have my formulas in Notepad like that. And then when you paste them in, and then when you save it, it goes away, but it should work. So, and then you've got to give it a name. Is order size, I guess. And hopefully it worked. Ooh, look at that. And so now it's just a different way of doing it. But
One of the often searches I get asked for is, I want to know by customer, how many orders have shipped, how many orders are not fulfilled, like a count. I don't want the detail, I want the statistics of how we're going to keeping our customers happy. And that would be a nice little.
So you could do that as a sub list, and then I was actually going to try and do that later. Maybe we can do it. We won't have a break, and we'll try and do that afterwards. So kind of like I have an example here on this item record where we published through the Street Success methodology. We have a bunch of standard additions, if you will.
Oh yeah, the 360.
So this basically then, so this is a custom tab with custom subtabs with custom sublists. And now what it doesn't have here, but which we'll try and add in a little bit, is like your historical sale items. Well, two things you could do. One, you can add, just have like a sum on the search, but it's going to show that at the bottom. But you should be able to add a custom field in the header here that counts the results in the sublist. Or it can count the results in the sublist and have another field that will give you a sum total of the dollar amount. So you could have one field that says, and it could be wherever. It could be orders of a particular category of product or whatever. And it should also work as well with if you add filters on the sublist, the total in the field should be just the total based on the filter that you've applied to. But that's a custom field thing, but we can have a look at how that works as well.
This result here only shows sales orders. We're a manufacturer, so a lot of times I want to know how many are consumed by a sales order and a work order.
Right.
But this is only showing me sales orders, is that correct?
Right. But because transactions, because they're all transactions, all a work order and a sales order and whatever are all transactions, you should be able to consolidate them into one. And then the only thing it doesn't do that you'd have to do some manipulation with, and you could use a case statement or something, is to make withdrawals a negative. So if you can make a withdrawal it's like when if you do like a search on inventory transactions, it doesn't show like a negative. They're all positives. So you got to do a switch. You got to do a formula to make the negatives for deductions from stock. And then you could do a sum on that. If you have a field that switches it from positive to negative, then that same sum field, we'll do that in a second, should show you the consolidated ins and outs based on all the transaction types that you have.
If you're forced to do that in your save search, can you have a column in a save search doing that manipulation, but don't show me it? Because I just want the output. Like, I'm doing an interim step. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have a column that you need in order to do stuff with it, but you really don't need it in the output.
So the reality is that, I mean, when you're doing save searches, it just writes SQL in the background. But the idea behind save searches is to keep them simple so that anyone can do them.
Yeah.
So if you can't do it in a save search, you can do it in SpeakScript by writing SQL.
So there's no way of hiding a column in a save search. Like,
If you're trying to like sequentially build, like I want to find this field, I want to add this field, I want to do one more thing, you're building up separately, sometimes they'll have separate rows and formats for that, and at the end you combine it all as each step works. And then sometimes they'll either push to the very end of the column, right, or at the end you delete it when you're done. But I don't think there's a way you can hide a column unless it's one that you have as
like hide. You want to hide the column interactively?
I can't remember why I wanted to hide a column. It was
like for a different user, for like have a column not show up for a particular user.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
I'm not sure if a case statement can access the user or the role. They should be able to access the role. I mean, you might be able to write something into a case statement that says if it's this role, then make it 0 or wherever. I'm not sure.
Right.
If you do a search, and you use the search as a list view,
Right. Okay. Do you want to take a break for 10 minutes? Seeing as I've been talking for an hour so far. Okay. Let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back and then let's try and do that. I'm going to try and show you how to add that column, add that field that, actually we're going to do a sublist and then try and add a field onto the header that counts the records in the sublist and does the sum of in the sublist. And I want to show you how to publish the saved searches outside of NetSuite, which is kind of cool too. Cool. Like 10, 20. We'll come back.
anybody here use the contract module in NetSuite?
No.
Resume recording. So just so you know, I forgot to list all these mics up here too, so the people online can hear you as well. So you're all being recorded. Okay, so to transition to sublist, I'm going to change this search a little bit, and I'm going to do like another case statement that has like 2 layers to it, which is actually pretty simple. So I'm going to change this search to being the main line option to being false. So now it's going to be line details. And I added, so now we'll have the line, the item, the quantity, etc. I changed the quantity fulfilled received just to be shipped, so it's narrower, and I added the status. onto the search as well. So just make sure it actually works before I go further. Okay, good. So so basically what I did was I wanted to have an example that shows you like slightly more complex, but not really more, just if you want to do a case statement with multiple criteria, and this is the easiest way of doing it, then the pen in is useful because it's basically you're saying, you know, the first one is saying if the status is pending fulfillment or pending approval, then then it's not yet. When it's pending bill partially fulfilled, then it says partial. Otherwise, it's saying yes. So it's just saying whether this order has to be still has something to be shipped or not. So. I'm just going to add a formula. Again, we do the text. I should have made that so I could copy it. That would have been much smarter, wouldn't it? Then, when status in, there we go. Curly brackets. In round brackets. And then you say and for the most part, then if you get the text wrong, it just won't give you the right answer. It won't give you like a script error. Script error is the worst. It doesn't tell you anything. Okay. And then you can just copy and paste that. Second one is
Yeah, don't preview because it's actually more doing data running than letting it out. And if you open another window, it'll yeah, definitely.
And misspelled fulfillment. So you tell me that too, which is nice. So I mean, actually, in doing the multiple conditions isn't actually that hard. There you go. And if you sort this by, most of them are probably. Of course, if I sort this by status, it's probably easier. But there you go. That's two examples of a case statement that's pretty easy to do. There you go. So now we have a list of order details, and we have the item, which will lead us on to doing sublists. Yay. Okay. So what is a sublist? So as I showed you in this item already, any of those lists underneath we call sublists. And so there's standard ones, there's ones that have been deployed as part of a bundle probably. So if you're a Suite Success customer, you'll have a bunch of these. It actually shows you, I'll show you in the list where you go and just define a sublist, it shows you if it comes from a bundle, so you can tell which ones have been deployed or not. So now you have, basically, we have a search that shows you all of the open sales orders with items. And so we should be able to go and add a sublist onto the item to show all of the open orders for that item. I know there's already like a transaction list there, but that gives you an idea of what you can do. I use sublists all the time by adding custom records. A lot of times I would actually demo serial numbers, tracking lot numbers and serial numbers using custom records instead. And then the custom records are awesome at connecting different pieces of data together. So there's some basic rules here. So I think your saved search has to be public. I was playing with this yesterday and I couldn't get it to work until it was public. So unless there was something else that I missed, you may have to make it public. Which probably makes sense actually because you're linking it onto a record. You have to enable the sublist view. You can add whatever criteria you want. You already have the results. And the critical part here is that the record type that you want to put the sublist on has to be the first available filter that's listed. And that record type or that field has to be of the type of list record. So you can't do a sublist on something that's a static value. It has to be something that can relate to basically. But I'll show you how that works. We'll add a subtab just because then I can show you how that works too. And then I'll show you where to go and add the sublist entry. And sometimes when you're doing this, make sure that you clear your browser cache because sometimes it looks like it's not working, and it actually is. So either logging out and back into your instance will do it. Or what browsers do you guys use?
Chrome.
You use Chrome? So I use Firefox because when I was demoing, even though NetSuite works in all browsers, not all browsers render all the screens consistently, and I found Firefox to be the most consistent screen renderer. But remember again, I was doing everything from, we've been doing like the web store and all this other stuff as well. So I found Firefox to be most consistent. But the point is, use multiple browsers, and then that's also another good way to, if you don't want to clear your cache and lose, because usually you lose all your history and stuff as well, then it's not just a cache clearing thing anymore. So if you log out and log in with a different browser, that will probably do the trick as well. So if it's not working, before you pull your hair out, figure out why it's not working, make sure that you either clear your cache or log in with a different browser and try it to make sure that it actually isn't working or is working. Otherwise, you'll end up just undoing something that was working in the first place, and then it really won't work. So, okay. So let's go and do this. So most people don't know how to do a sublist. This is a fairly simple thing, but this probably comes under the advanced topics because most people don't know how it works. That includes a lot of NetSuite SEs, unfortunately. So regular safe search works. We have the criteria we want. We have the results. So that's all good. We have highlighting. which may not work anymore, but we don't have highlighting. We'll come back to that afterwards. This is the real key. So I'm going to make it public, first of all, and I'm going to make it available as a sublist view, so you need to have both those things checked. And we're going to put this on the item record. It could be on you put it on the customer record. Basically, any of the fields that you have, so the customer name or the item would work. Or you can actually, other things that I've done before as well, actually, is I've done a sublist on sales orders that when you save it, it shows all of the items, the inventory status of inventory position, or everywhere where you have inventory of all the items in the sales order. So just add a tab called inventory availability. I have a sublist that shows all the locations that have inventory of any of the items on the sales order. Just a quick way to give your customer service people a way to go and look it up. But in this case, we're just going to do item because that's easy, and I want to keep it easy. So again, it has to be the first one. So we're going to take item. You don't have to show it in the filter, in the filter region. You probably wouldn't, because this means it's going to automatically filter by the item, and you don't have, because then you don't have to go and pick it. But you could go and have things like location. So you can have as many other filters in here as you want. Customer name. But the only one that matters is the first one. The record that you want to put the sublist on has to be the first filter. It ignores every other one. This is actually all documented in the help, just that so I'm going to save it and run it. At this point, it won't make any difference because it's not a sublist at this point. It's just a saved search, but we have the location and the customer name there too. Okay, this is the tricky part that sometimes doesn't always go according to plan, but we'll see how it goes. So we have the sublist, and so you go under forms. And we're going to go and we'll try adding a sub-tab, and if that doesn't work, then we'll just add it somewhere else. But I want to show you how to add a sub-tab anyway. So there's basically only 4 types of records when it comes to tabs. So transactions are your sales orders, purchase orders, all your transaction types. Entities are kind of a strange beast. Entities are customers, vendors, projects. Anything that's not a transaction and not an item is probably an entity. So you might want to look there for it. Item is pretty self-explanatory. CRM, we cover things like cases and that sort of thing as well. So let's go in here, and I already added one called analytics. So let's go and NetSuite user group. That would seem like a good name to use.
If it doesn't have a bundle number, does it mean that it's not available?
No. So this means that this sub-tab was pushed into your account from a bundle. Do you know? Everyone know what a bundle is? Not everybody. So a bundle is like when you can is how we push additional functionality to customers. But you can actually create your own bundles. So if you have multiple NetSuite instances, then you can do something in a customization in one account and create a bundle and then deploy it in your other one. So I used to do that with demo accounts all the time. It's also had partners should really use bundles if they're adding custom records and stuff to your and custom fields to your account, it should probably come from a bundle. So I'm going to add a sub-tab. The sub-tab will not appear unless it has something in it. So if you're wondering why a tab doesn't appear on a record, just because there's nothing referencing it, it will automatically appear dynamically when there's something something associated to it. So the next thing you do is go under sublists. There's several things that could go wrong here. So I did an example yesterday that I could show you in case it does go wrong. So this is where, again, you have your same list of items. So here's the one I did yesterday. And so if you did everything correctly, look at that, then your saved search will show up here. It only shows up here if you have a filter, and if there's an available filter, and the first filter is a list record type, and it's public, and you said that it's available as a sublist view. If you don't check those things, it will not show up as a sublist, or as a search, an available search in the sublist screen. And then you can give it a title. This is the label for the search that you're going to get. Open order lines. And then, so if you leave it blank, this is the sub-tab column, the tab column. If you leave this blank, it will appear on the main page. And it would have, so you would get a new tab called Open Order Lines, probably on the main page. We're going to try and put it under our new tab, but we'll see how that goes. And then here's basically all the different types of items that you want this sublist to apply to. So typically that would be inventory items, maybe non-inventory items. I'm not going to do service items or expense items. Maybe other charges. I'm not going to do kits and assembly items.
Gavin, is there a way of locking down the middle bit so you don't have to keep going up and down to read what the headings are?
Oh, that'd be a question for our lovely UX team. The answer is yes. They're actually working on a lot new UI enhancements. Actually, we actually have a UI group in World. So that'd actually be a good person to have come and talk about what it is we're doing there and some of the enhancements we're making to the UI. There's a lot of changes coming to the UI, not like an overhaul like we did like 3 years ago, but they're creating. There's a team that is basically creating specific UI elements for specific new pieces of functionality. So as for example, we just launched the engineering change order functionality in the 18.1, and there was a couple of things we wanted to do with how you picked the assemblies and the items that were affected, etc. And so we actually had the UI team build a custom UI element that's now available to other people to use. So they don't just build it and put it into a transaction and then forget about it. Once they build that, it becomes a library of UI elements that you can use in your development accounts and that sort of thing as well. So and so having the ability to lock the header or stop the header going off the page was a big request. So I know that I'm not sure when that's coming out. That's why it's always good to read the release notes, because they usually put all that stuff in the release notes. If you go and look under the platform part, there's usually some cool things under the platform part that they don't really tell anyone about. And there's always things that are not in the release notes and end up in the system. I know because I write the release notes, and so we can't put everything in there. So there's some things we just decide not to tell anyone about. It's like a Christmas present, early Christmas present. Okay, so what this should do is create that tab, that ONSUG tab on the item record, and then put the sublist that we've been working on it. This is the part where it can really go wrong. So I'm going to go back and have a look at this item here. Again, if this one doesn't work, I'll show you the one that Digesty. It's basically the same idea. And then the sequence in which the tabs appear, you can go and change, but you got to go and change on the form itself. Okay, let's see. Oh, look at that. And so there is, well, there's no records, but maybe that's just because there's no records for that item. Actually, that's not what I was looking for. I wanted to do this one, hydraulic hose assembly. But the tab there, that's one good thing. And so it should be here as well. Why didn't it show up in that one? Isn't that funny? Sometimes if it doesn't work, you might want to go and check under the custom one. You know, I'm going to log out and log back in again, see if that helps. Hope I can remember my password.
Filters on your saved search would also show up on that tab?
Yeah.
Do you log in as yourself and come up as Kathy Caddy?
It's a long story. There you go. So now you have, and so now of course you can, you might want to remove the item column because it's only showing all the open sales orders for that. So it's basically it automatically filters based on the item. So you're only seeing sales order lines that have that item on it. So all the criteria that you entered in the save search applies. So it's open sales order lines. I could go in here and I could say, I'm only interested in Smith Supplies orders. And it's going to show you a list of all those. And or you can go in here and say, I'm only interested in my locations or San Francisco. And there's the two formula fields that we do as well. It's amazing when these things work right, isn't it? So
Does it only give you one item? Like you can only do one item per report?
well, so remember this is a sublist, right? So the sublist is automatically filtering based on this item, the item record that you're on. So you only you'll have to do one search, and then it will automatically show up for all your items, but it automatically pre-filters the sublist to only show transactions or whatever related to the record you're on. So it'll work with customers, vendors, or we have a bundle for like vendor performance, and it's basically all based on sublists. You can add highlighting and filtering and stuff, additional filters to it as well. All that still works as well. So you can have search be really powerful and be used for a bunch of different things. Okay, so let's try something really scary. And we're going to go and let's go and add a custom field and see if we can make it add up the number of lines. I haven't done this for a while, so bear, this might not work too well. Okay, so we're going to add a new field. Again, in your account, you may not have permission to do this, depending on what your permissions are. And I'm going to add and you have to make it, I think, the type of record that you want. You choose what type of record. So default is to assembly bill of materials because I was on an assembly bill of material item. Somewhere on here. So this is the one. I think this is the search that's going to show you the quantity. So we have to go and do another search that does to account. But the idea is that if you have a search that goes and gets the count of the records, then this would actually go and you go and pick the search, and then you go and show it, tell it what field to go and count, and it would go and do a sum of that. I think that's right. I should do it on the other. It should just go in the main tab. Yeah, we'll come back and work on that. But there should be a way. There is a way you can go and add a field and have it go and do a sum or a count of the records in the list. Okay. This is my last trick. Publishing a saved search. So let me show you what it looks like first, actually. So here is a vendor center. That has been modified with what I'm calling VMI, so vendor managed inventory. So I had a custom tab onto the vendor portal. This will also work in. I'll show you how you set up. So it should work in pretty much. You can put it on your website. You can put it in the employee portal, customer portal, and that sort of thing. So I have a custom display tab, and there's two parts to it. There is vendor information, which just says we accept deliveries from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The VMI vendor search actually shows you the results of a saved search in the vendor portal, which is kind of cool. So how do you do that? I forget, so I have to go and look at my list. I have a list of steps. Okay. This is basically along the same lines. If you've done anything with the web store and adding pages to your web store and that sort of thing, it's basically along the same lines as that. Just that most people don't realize that you can share other information as well. So what I did first of all was I created a custom vendor portal role. and because it won't let you add custom display tabs to the default vendor portal. And so what I did was I created set up user roles. I basically just copied the vendor portal, and I created another one called vendor center with VMI. Very simple. Then what you have to do is you have to go and create the new tab for it. Actually, let me just show you the search first of all. So I made this very specific in this case. The trick with this is that the search cannot do it's not like a sublist, so it doesn't know which vendor portal you're displaying it to. So you'd have to create a search for every vendor that you want to share your information with. So the technique's kind of interesting. So there's the search in the system. And so then we're going to go is list, website, tabs, and create a new portal. So this is where you go and define all the content on your website. A website is not just the your e-commerce site. If you go and look at this one, you can see that there's a bunch of different options here. There's options for layout. I kept it really simple. You can choose which categories to go and use, and then you can also choose your audience. So in this case, you can go and choose particular vendors. So you can choose which subsidiaries the information should come from. You can choose which groups. You can choose which customers to display it to, which vendors to display it to, or which partners to display it to. So you can publish all this information to the vendor portal, the customer portal.
If you have a customer that's got 10 accounts with you, they want to see one view, can you do that? So they can see all 10 accounts even though?
Yes, because it's not, it's blind to, you can publish whatever data you want. So if a customer has 10 accounts, you have to be careful that you're picking the right customers. But yeah, you can, that'd be a way around the customer, the hierarchy, or the portal only getting access to one. You could do a search that shows all the orders from all of their customer accounts.
Cool.
Yeah. And so there's a bunch of other options. So employees would also let you publish this to the employee portal. So you can publish other information there as well. If you call support and ask about this, they're going to say and probably most people won't know you can do this either. But it's all in the help. If you want, actually, it's not in help. I think I found it online how to do it. So basically, so you have to go and create a presentation tab. So that presentation tab is this tab here, right? And then what you have to do is get your saved search and mark it as public, basically. And then you have to go and say, choose your which saved search to publish and where to publish it to. Website. Published saved searches. Ding, 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 ding. So this is my VMI vendor search. There is my search. I didn't try, I should try unchecking that, see what happens. And so this is then the portal where it's being, or the tab it's going to be displayed on. You can have layouts for how it's going to work. You can have additional other information you put in there. And then you go in here and you choose the roles that applies to. So vendors, employees, whatever it is you want to go and share this. And again, in this case, I've limited it to a specific vendor. So you have one portal and only this one vendor when you log in will see the search. Let's see if it lets us drill down. That'd be actually kind of cool. That's it. It's really simple. And that's what gets you. Let's try and refresh this and see what happens. I doubt it's going to let you drill down anywhere.
When you give access to vendors or customers, those don't count as licenses, right?
Free. Customer portals are free. Vendor portals are free. Partner portals are free.
Free for all features.
It's a limited subset of the
Because you have two different
of features.
Partners, right? The advanced partners.
So the Advanced Partner Center lets you pretty much do anything you can do in NetSuite. And it's a lower license fee, and it should be a lower license fee, and it's the sort of thing that you can beat up your account rep to get a better discount than those.
Customer portal.
Why are you pointing at me? It's making me nervous.
My mind is blown away. Customer portal, one email account manages 10 customer accounts, so therefore we could give them, it has to be a unique email.
Right.
Right? So, the save search gives me the.
So you can use the Advanced Partner Center. We actually talked about this at Street World, that you can link partner and customer and vendor records. So you could you can actually deploy like the Advanced Partner Center as like an advanced customer portal. And there's actually an option within the Advanced Partner portal that they can create their own relationships. So they can create sub partners and or give other people access to the portal. It's not reliant on you. So you might want to have a look at what you can do with the Advanced Partner portal. Well, look at that. Now that's kind of interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. Anything? There you go. That's good. So they can't drill down unless they have permission to view the item. So you probably don't want to check that box, or uncheck that box. But there you go. That's good. So you need list items permission still. I used this a few times during demos for things that people were looking for, and you know, it's a pretty decent way to go and share additional information from a saved search. I think that's it. I think I'm done. Questions?
We want to look at like regular role publishing with locked and unlocked dashboards and portlets.
Do you want to show something?
Well, I only have one question about it.
Sure.
We find that if we lock the portlets down and the dashboards down, it's good because everyone has a consistent view to do their job.
Right.
If you unlock it, people have varying skill levels, they delete their own portlets on themselves,
Right.
things like that. So we don't want that. So the way we found is best to manage it is you have one role where it's locked that people use, and then you have a role for dashboard publishing that is unlocked and allows publishing. You make the changes there, the whole group, and then you publish it to their locked role.
Right.
What we find with that is it's a bit cumbersome, but anyone else that has that role that's allowed to publish could publish over top of their role.
Right.
And then there's no way to audit or track or see who did that. Or warn them, hey, you know, we sister or we we pair these roles together, you're using a completely different one to overwrite that maybe you shouldn't do that.
Right.
Because unfortunately, there's no like delete or overwrite log. We can't tell who did it.
So, the problem that we have with our demo accounts, as you can see, is that we have like 1,000 roles.
Yeah.
And they're all tied to the same email address. So our ability to do things like publishing dashboards, this kind doesn't really work very well because it gets confused.
That's okay. My question, like, so that's like setting it up. My question is like, what's your best practice that you use to try to manage that? Like, you know, using a lock and unlock role,
Right.
does that help? And like,
Yeah.
do you do more to
So that's what.
someone else?
So these are these are the Street Success roles. Yeah, these are the Street Success roles. So the way to think of these, and this is the way I used to explain it during demonstrations, was that, you know, we publish what we think the ideal or whatever the standard role is with permissions and dashboards and stuff for all these different roles. And you can't, if we publish these, you can't change them anyway. I think you have to, I think because they're published in the bundle, I think you have to. It won't let you edit it. You got to go and copy it and make a change to it. So this would be the NetSuite standard controller role, and then you have to go and make like a my company controller role.
Funny because some of them you can change. Yeah, like some of them you have to copy.
So that's just it depends on how the role was deployed. The standard roles you can't change. It forces you to them. If we publish roles through a bundle, I think it's the same thing. But yeah, there's definitely the whole role in user management is like a lost art for sure.
Yeah, like the best thing we found is if you go to the role, it'll say what dashboard was recently used to publish to it.
Right.
So it might give you a hint as to, you know, what role it came from, how many users are using that role, who might have done it, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Would maybe like in the future would like SDS evolve to kind of make that possible so that have that change management that you.
I think so. I think that's the idea. Is that well, can you do that right now?
I haven't tried.
The problem with the roles is that you know, if somebody publishes a role to you, then you don't have the option to say I don't want to take it. You log in and it suddenly looks different. And so that's not really it doesn't really work that well. This is just a couple of any other questions on safe searches? Have we saved search out? Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on dashboards because I'm getting tired. But there's a couple of cool things here. I'm not sure if everyone knows about these. This is my personal favorite, is this guy here. If you have multiple subsidiaries in your company, this is the subsidiary navigator. This is a standard bundle you can install, or portlet you can install. And when you pick, so right now it's showing you all of the KPIs and etc. are all based on the entire company because I'm a senior executive, so I have permission to see everything. If you change it just to the one subsidiary, all the metrics change. So the KPIs all change, even the reminders change based on the subsidiary that you're looking at too. So if you have multiple subs, this is a free bundle or free thing to go and add. We just added that. It's kind of the same as doing this. So this is nice because they just added this because it shows you what you currently have all in one place. That didn't used to be there. There you go. That's a subsidiary navigator. So if you're going to Suite Apps, you should be able to go and add that onto your account. The suite apps are also available for partners to publish to. I've not seen many of them do it yet, but they absolutely should do as like a, if I was like a SDN partner, I'd be putting a suite app there to showcase what my product can do, and like a little teaser of functionality sort of thing. Snapshots. So if you create your own custom report, you can get it to the point where it's just what you're looking for, and then you can create a snapshot of the report, and then add that report snapshot onto your dashboard as well. So, and then there's standard content, so calendars. Oh, my login audit trail. This is a good one. It doesn't work in our demo accounts for various reasons. But this will show you your last login. So if you were thinking that someone's hacking into your account or you're having issues, it'll show you your actual login, your mobile login, how many times you logged in, etc. And when when your password's going to expire. So that's kind of useful too. There used to be an option as well to go and change the time frame. I will. New release booklet. We push this out automatically when it comes to the new releases, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. It used to be in the old days that you could just take your portlet and drag it to the right, and it would automatically create like a third column. But changing the layout here for different roles can be kind of useful. I tend to default to this view, which is having a narrow left column, then the main page in the right. But this one can be kind of useful as well if you don't want like a side panel. This just gives you like a single column view. Then you do more scrolling. Depends how big your monitor is. If it's really big, you can use this one that has columns on both sides, and then your main one in the middle too. And then what else do we have?
Gavin, is there any intent with the KPIs, instead of it just comparing to one period, to be able to do rolling KPIs? I want to see the last 3 months. What's my trend, as opposed to a snapshot from one to another? That's often I get.
You could probably do that. Can you not do that with a
I'm using one, for example, where I look back for like the last 6 months. So I'll have a column for each month, and you can build that out. So you'll say like, in this month, you have 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago. And then each of the rows, depending on what I'm tracking, let's say you're looking at orders that are closed or open or things like that, you can even click on a little trend graph, and it'll load and pop up and show you the trend for you. So it's possible to build them out that way. The one he added is for comparing a current period and previous one, but you can totally do it so that each column shows previous periods. It don't have to be monthly, it can be physical, year.
Right. So then, in the KPIs, when you're going to set up, then the range is based on the type of data, right? And then there's this period versus last period, and then that will give you. Then it'll also give you like a trend graph. So that could be quarter over quarter or whatever. The other thing to do though is you could do one of these, and then you get to go and build whatever the ratios are that you want. But these are like super tricky to build. That's like a whole other session just on.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I mean, I often get from CFOs or CEOs, I want to see the trend of the bank balance for the last 6 months. AR, AP, that is my snapshot. I don't care about 1 month is too small, but I need to see.
Yeah, like if it's one-dimensional, you can build the searches and then roll those searches into a KPI to show that. But if it's multi-dimensional, you may want to pull that out of Excel and make a pivot graph into a table.
Yeah.
I mean, but if it's one dimensional, it's less work, but it can do it for you
Yeah.
ongoing, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on what your needs are. You can do it.
So these actually show you. So the KPI scorecard has, here's all your different scorecards that you create. And then, so you can do things like inventory turnover. And so when you click on it, it shows you how you get to that number. So you're basically taking two-stage searches and then creating a formula that goes and creates your turnover number. And then if you want to go and drill into cost of goods sold, then it will go and show you where that number came from as well. But those are, again, like super tricky. There's the help. I mean, it isn't help, but they're really tricky to make work. It's easier to take one that's there. Again, another thing that we did with this is a street success thing. Here we go. The navigation portal, that should also be available to you as well. Even if you're not street success, you can ask for it. And so this was an attempt to go and put all the common links, transactions, and reports, etc., in different places for different roles. And so this setup is where you say I want to use a navigation portal. And then here is all different ones that we have configured. You can actually go and create your own. So if you want a marketing one, then it changes and shows you all different links for that as well. So again, if you don't have that, you should be able to ask for it. Okay. Questions? No questions?
Financial one, that can.
Is it standard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you may not have all these, and if you have problems finding them, then let me know. But for the most part, you should be able just to go and deploy them.
Report snapshot.
The report snapshot?
One that you had below there. WD financial. KPI.
That's KPI scorecard.
Actually, I have to be careful with that. You have to restrict that from other people because everybody can go in and pull that KPI and put it on the dashboard unless you restrict access. Because every user has this.
Is it not restricted by the records that they have access to?
Hard way that it is not restricted. Yeah, you have to actually go in and restrict people from seeing certain KPIs.
We are actually. I was on a call the other day, and they are going to get to like field level permissions for standard fields in the system. Because right now, for the most part, that's not the case. With custom fields, it is. You can add custom fields and make those user specific or etc. But the standard fields currently are not available for that. But I know it's something that we're working on adding shortly as well. Okay. Just have.
So Gavin, if you go personalise and you go and look for the navigator or subsidiary navigator and it's not there, what's the next step?
It should be there. It should be under.
I've got suite nothing there.
You got suite nothing.
Suite nothing.
But you don't have the suite app option.
I have suite apps and it says no dashboard suite apps installed. Go to help.
That's a good question. It must be permission based because.
I'm an administrator.
Same way. Also, I mentioned.
But it's interesting though that like the under personalized, so I have the subsidiary navigator here. Oh.
But you're in asset.
It's a bundle.
Yeah, mine has nothing either.
It's a bundle.
Is it bundle?
Got it in mind.
Good old bundles. Let's go look at the bundle repository. There is a way that they're meant to be able to just, there's meant to be like a repository of those customization bundlers. Search and install bundles. Subsidiary. There you go. Subsidiary navigator.
There's two on there. There's one for one.
Right. Well, it only works in one world, so. I would typically, I mean, if you're, look at the number of installs, I mean, that's a good indicator as to which ones are good or actually worth using. If you search for publisher and say NetSuite Platform Solutions Group, then you'll see all the ones that we publish. And some of these are like, no, so last sales activity date for CRM basically puts a field on the customer record that shows the last date of any activity with the customer. So we use that all the time. Enhanced Sales Center, that's basically look more like Salesforce. That was the intent behind that. There's your application performance management tool. So it should be available. You can first get replaced by the new next gen reporting engine. There's just a decision navigator. With that, this is like a new. We're adding more approvals into this like centralized approvals bundle. And so when we're deploying new, this has things like it'll look for like alternates for approvals if somebody's on vacation, and so you can nominate someone to do your approvals for you and things like that. Drag and drop seems to work better in some browsers than others. Again, just talking about browsers. Not all browsers are created equally. And dashboard tiles. So that's the dashboard tiles and the navigation portlets. Those are the two. That's the navigation portlet is what I showed you. The dashboard tiles is the old version of that. Pretty funny actually that it has more deployments than the portlet. And some of the things like supply chain management, we have a bunch of things into there. So that like the engineering change order feature is actually part of supply chain management for some reason. So there's a bunch of things in here that actually have a lot of added value in them. So it's worth going and having a look to see what's there.
How do you know what's in each bundle? Like, how do you get the
Well,
description of what?
So,
Like, I see one tax something there.
right.
What is
So you go into tax audit files. There should be, if we've done our job right, there should be, it shows you the product it's for. There's the abstract, the description. And then under components, it actually shows you what it's going to install. So the components will give you a list of the records. So it has CSV imports. There's all the custom fields it's going to go and deploy. Transaction body fields, custom lists, files. It's put into the file cabinet. So these are all the script, the suite script files, and those all get deployed into the file cabinet as part of the installation as well. So, I mean, it gives you a pretty thorough list of what's going on. And this is all, if you go and build a bundle, NetSuite builds all this for you. You tell it what you want included, and it goes and creates this list.
And do you not get all these bundles when you're implementing, or you don't get?
It depends, no.
No?
It depends on, with Suite Success, I mean, that's how they're deploying a lot of the Suite Success stuff, is using bundles.
Okay.
We don't have any other way to do it. And so that's where a lot of these things have come from. But partners use it as well. But if you just go and search, a lot of these will be NetSuite customers who have created bundles either for their own use. We had a customer, a very large customer, who we're going to have, rather than using one world, they're going to have 30, 40 instances of NetSuite, maybe more. And so they basically created their own Suite Success bundle. So when they fire up a new instance of NetSuite, they install the bundle and it has all their company standard stuff in it, reports, custom fields, a basic configuration of NetSuite that they start from.
And is there any way to know what bundles you have already?
Yes, so if you go under Suite Bundler,
Got a trail will show you, right?
is it those trail?
I repeat based on version.
Search and solver. That's what I'm saying there. Yes, this is one. These are the ones you have, and then the exclamation means that there's an update available, and it depends the way that the bundle was deployed, whether you can update it or whether you have to call support and have them have them push it to you.
Oh.
That's at the discretion of the bundle owner. Whoever creates the bundle gets to choose how it's deployed. And there's Kathy again, look at that. And so there's, actually, they have the application performance monitor. Cool. I haven't looked at this, so I have no idea what it's going to show me, if anything. But this is where you go and see, look at that. Add-in views, shows you response time. Does everyone know that the logo trick?
But, so you can no longer, because I've been clicking the screen.
It doesn't work anymore?
That'll work.
So you click I.
Yeah, if you think there's it's slow or whatever, you double click on the Oracle. Maybe you're double clicking on NetSuite. You clearly have to click on Oracle now. That's just a little joke. So this is the last page that loaded. How long it took to load for 4.3 seconds. 0.287 seconds was the server side. Server side Suite script, workflows, network, and then clients are basically saying my machine is a piece of crap. And the time, etc. So it's a good. If you call support and you complain about performance, the first thing that I ask you to do is double click the logo and see what it's telling you, and that will give you an idea of where the lag is.
And different browsers can influence your client time too.
Yeah.
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 I use Safari.
Really? Safari is slow?
We found it was the slowest of the four.
Sure, Safari. But yeah, this is like the performance. Search performance analysis. So this would be the saved searches. We actually spent, the unfortunate thing with the application performance monitor is that it actually slows down performance as well. So, but yeah, I mean, here's in the last 24 hours, here's your searches, and then there's a nice little graph showing you peak usage times and that sort of thing. So it's actually pretty good.
Want to mention to people maybe about persist or mod? No? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, do you want to?
No, not really.
there is an option to have searches persist, which means that they basically are running in the background. And to be used, if you look it up in help, it tells you a little bit more about it. Just be careful, I guess, with what it is that you're searching. You don't want to be, oh, actually, that's what another thing I was going to, yeah, I won't do that. No, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
That's a topic for another day, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can definitely affect performance.
If you've got I mean, we find our item record takes, I mean, now it's 40 seconds to load up the item record.
40 seconds?
40 seconds, and it's 38 seconds from the server. So then I need to install this.
Well,
Analyze.
server could just mean that is it server time or server-side scripts?
The server,
So,
95% of the time.
right.
It can also depend on like if you're running an exploded view, expanded view, and you're trying to load everything at once versus.
I just loaded up a single item.
Right.
So, I mean, usually when there's a performance issue like that, there's scripts that are colliding. So you have two scripts trying to do the same thing or access the same record. Workflows, be careful with how your workflows deploy, things like that. Depending on how we're trying to improve some of the ways that it does things like around item allocation and commitment. Because right now, we actually made some changes to the way that record structure works. So before, there's basically one table that every time you entered like a sales order or a work order or did anything, everything was depending on this one table to try and figure out which items it could commit. And so we broke that down into three different tables, all in the background without anyone noticing. Amazing. And so it could be something. There could be circumstances of that. But yeah, you should absolutely install the application performance monitor. Does it always take 40 seconds or just?
Yes.
On every item?
Yep.
What about does it matter if it's a service item versus like a non-image, like an imagery item versus a service item? I would try creating like a non-imagery item or a service item and try opening and see if that opens faster because there's different item types.
Yeah, I will. I'm on it.
By item types, I mean you go under items. So the forms, so there's a few places to look. So every item type has its own default form. So the other thing you might want to try is changing the customization forms, entry forms. Change back to the standard item form, and as being preferred, and try it again with that, because it could be your form. I've actually seen forms become corrupted, and so you have to delete them and start over again, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's once the form's loaded and we go up or down with an item.
Right.
It's fast.
Right.
We chugging to get that form up.
Sure. But that's what I would do. I would try different item types and then go back to the standard item forms, and then that'll give you an idea as to whether there's a problem with your form or not. Okay, I think I'm done. We have like half an hour to mingle. Is that okay? Yep. Any questions online on the phone, over the phone, by the way? Are they still there? Maybe we hung up. No, still there. That's good. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna hang out for a while.
What was the bundle for the Suite app? What was it?
The bundle for the,
Install the Suite app, because right now you just get nothing, right? Just see help or whatever.
Oh, no, I'll show you.
Okay.
there you go, Lisa's gonna show you.
I've sold that too.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks very much. And thanks, everybody, for attending today. So you don't have to leave, got the room, install, interact, network,